Hey there, folks. I'm Mark, in affiliation with Spectrum Pulse, and it's Billboard Breakdown. I don't remember. So this week is weird, and I may be on the standard between Christmas and New Year's weird, but more because of what did and did not happen this week. I mean, I was expecting the double album bomb that we got last week to fall off fast and for holiday music to fill in the gap, but I also thought that Eminem would get something of an album bomb for the deluxe reissue of his last album, and outside of a single song that also happened to get a music video, nothing. Ergo, the charts wind up feeling weirdly transitional, dominated by holiday music at the very top, with the bottom half just straining to rush back in when it all goes away in a week or two. And if you want concrete proof of that, look no further than our top 10, where there is only a single song that's not tied to the holidays. Not that I'm gonna complain all that much, because all the holiday cuts, they're here for the exact same reason, and therefore, they're really easy for me to list off. Overwhelming streaming, holiday radio, occasionally brief spikes in sales, and it'll be years before they go recurrent properly, so we might as well get used to them around this time of year, unless Billboard's gonna change their rules. So, in order from the top down, All I Want for Christmas Is You by Mariah Carey surges back to number 1. Rockin' Around the Christmas Tree by Brenda Lee at number 2. Jingle Bell Rock by Bobby Helms at number 3. A Holly Jolly Christmas by Burl Ives at number 4. It's the Most Wonderful Time by Andy Williams at number 5. And Feliz Navidad by Jose Feliciano at number 6. Then we got Mood by 24kGoldn and Ian Dior at number 7, because it's just here because it rules the radio and can hold up just enough. And then back to the holiday material with Let It Snow by Dean Martin at number 8, Last Christmas by Wham at number 9, and Run Rudolph Run by Chuck Berry getting a considerable spike up to number 10. This was never a holiday standard for me growing up. I'm a little bit surprised it is doing this well. Just saying. But yeah. For once, our top 10 is incredibly easy. Let's go to our list of losers and dropouts, which in the latter category, it's basically just all the album bombs with a few lingering casualties along the way, like Ain't Always the Cowboy by John Party, or BS by Jhené Aiko and Her, or I Should Probably Go to Bed by Dan and Shay, or some long-running songs like Rockstar by DaBaby featuring Roddy Ricch, What's Poppin' by Jack Harlow and Crew, and even Blinding Lights by The Weeknd. Don't worry, it's probably going to be back when all the holiday music is gone. It's got enough to pick up past going recurrent, at least to my initial estimations. Now for our losers, it's tough to assess how many of them are actually going to last, because on the one hand we got the album bombs that are fading away, like from Kid Cudi we got Tequila Shots down at 86, and from Taylor Swift we got Nobody No Crime with Haim at 97, Tis the Damn Season at 91, and Champagne Problems at 77, and Willow breaking the record for the sharpest number 1 drop-off down at 38. And you know what, I'll be nice and throw in Way Out by Jack Harlow featuring Big Sean down at 89 too. But the rest though, I think they might rebound, but it's tough to say by how much, especially given that we got the wild card of Playboy Cardi, who I think will impact the charts, but likely not with a huge dominant album bomb to fill in the gaps. We just don't know yet. The streaming's kind of shaky. Ergo, with I Hope by Gabby Barrett and Charlie Puth at 30, Dakiti by Bad Bunny and Jay Cortez at 34, Body by Megan Thee Stallion at 35, Kings and Queens by Ava Max at 41, and Dynamite by BTS losing Heart at 44. It's tough to say what might come back, except with BTS. I think that last sales boot might have been the song's last gasp of lingering relevance. But now we got the complicated question of our returns and our gains. And I'm going to start off in the latter category because it's easily half of this is holiday music that's going to be again gone in record time. I already mentioned Chuck Berry, but we also have Underneath the Tree by Kelly Clarkson at 12, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer and Here Comes Santa Claus by Gene Autry at 16 and 26 respectively, Santa Tell Me by Ariana Grande at 17, Christmas Baby Please Come Home by Darlene Love at 19, White Christmas by Bing Crosby at 20, Home for the Holidays by Perry Como at 22, It's Beginning to Look a Lot Like Christmas by Michael Buble at 23, Wonderful Christmas Time by Paul McCartney at 28, Take Me Home for Christmas by Dan and Shay at 43, Hallelujah by Carrie Underwood and John Legend up big to 54, Rockin' Around the Christmas Tree, the cover by Justin Bieber, and Favorite Time of Year by Carrie Underwood at 62. At this point, I'm inclined to say that anyone still whinging about the war on Christmas should repeat all those songs 10 times fast and pass out in the nearest open sewer drain. But we also have the songs that are rising up to fill the gap in coming weeks, and to call it a mixed bag would be rather generous. I mean, on the one hand, we got My Ex's Best Friend by Machine Gun Kelly and Black Bear at 69, or Prisoner by Miley Cyrus featuring Dua Lipa at 81, or hell, Forever After All by Luke Combs at 73. If you can't tell, I'm grasping at straws here. But on the flip side, we also have You Broke Me First by Tate McRae at 68, and Without You by Kid Laroi at 70, and Throat Baby Go Baby by BRS Cash at 74, and Good Time by Nico Moon at 82. Most annoyingly, we got the continued upward momentum of Cry Baby by Megan Thee Stallion at 67 with DaBaby. This song is getting worse for me with every listen on production alone. That's not a good sign. But then we got our returns, and let's go through the holiday ones pretty quick. Silent Night by Carrie Underwood at 94, Under the Mistletoe by Kelly Clarkson and Brett Eldridge at 75, Please Come Home for Christmas by the Eagles at 45, Blue Christmas by Elvis Presley at 33, and You're a Mean One, Mr. Grinch by Thurl Ravenscroft at 32. Awesome name there. But everything else filling in the gaps here, at least the worst of them seems to be Champagne Night by Lady A at 80, and Put Your Records On by Rit Momney at 100. The rest are passable. Seven Summers by Morgan Wallen back at 83, Your Mind Still by Young Bluh and Drake at 85, Back to the Streets by Saweetie and Jhené Aiko at 87, Bishota by Karol G at 88, Hit Different by SZA and Ty Dolla $ign at 90, Damaged by Her at 892, Golden by Harry Styles at 95, Hole in the Bottle by Kelsey Ballerini at 96, and it even took her to the O by the late King Von at 99. I don't know how much any of these will have real staying power, but I will say the modest recovery this week might save me a ton of work next week. Oh, who are we kidding? This is just gonna be entirely too much work for way too long. I'll have to see if there's an easier way to handle this in the years ahead, because this is gonna continue being a problem for the years ahead. But it also means we got a pretty sizable list of new arrivals, where the first half actually might be songs that could have traction, and the second half are just the last of the holiday songs. They're just kind of being late to the party. So starting off with the former, number 98, Moonwalking in Calabasas by DDG.
Louis bag, gotta hold the ratchet, just in case the nigga wants some action.
I always feel like I'm behind when I catch up with the rappers like who often chart for a week or two at the very bottom before never really seeing much of them. It's a bit of a crapshoot, because DDG has apparently been active since 2016, at least with Zaytoven production credits, plus an active YouTube channel, and his debut album dropping in 2019, and a pretty active singles release schedule this year. And yet this is the sort of dead-eyed trap that I feel like I've heard hundreds of times before. I'll admit the hi-hats and the snares sound pretty sharp as hell against the guitar loop, but I can't really elevate a pretty limp performance from our lead here, where he barely rises above a monotone with only a little bit of auto-tune rattling through the triplet flows as he describes his come-up. And it's just so tired to listen to another guy drearily going back to the struggle just so he can stat more cash, buy cars, and steal your girl. Especially when the second verse goes into more detail about how he actually behaves around women, kind of telling how he tries to bring up his mother early on to maybe offset this. It's just too flat and uninteresting for me to really care about. Next, number 93, Backdoor by Lil Durk.
Close that back door, can you shake that back home? Close that back door, cause I know that this phony.
Okay, so Lil Durk put out an album a couple days ago, and given I've warmed a little bit to his sound and content this year, I was curious to see how any of this would stick, and honestly, while I'm not against picking up the piano-backed, more soulful trap grooves from an artist like Rod Wave, did you have to grab the overweight and clumsily blended bass as well? It just doesn't sound nearly as good as it should, especially when the fidelity gets rougher around that hook, and especially when Lil Durk is gonna wind up rattling through, blasting all the crews that want to be like him, killing more people, the feds being out to get him, and then some lines about buying girls bags that don't fit with anything, at least until the second verse comes in, where he seems to come a little bit more sober, as it seems that he's realizing he's being looked up to by his nephews. It becomes an open question how much any of this ultimately matters going forward if he's setting an example. Now, the song kind of runs out of momentum and doesn't really follow through or connect, but it's okay. I don't know, I'm still waiting for Lil Durk to really knock one out of the park, and he might be getting closer. I'll say that. Number 84, Adderall Corvette Corvette by Popp Hunna.
I turn a five to a stack, five to a stack. I was just down in the bottom, talking them back in the bed. I took this shit out the mud, but they don't want to talk about that. Keep it a stack.
Okay, so Popp Hunna I was actually aware of a little bit earlier. His name has been circulating among some of the up-and-comers, he's seen some viral traction on TikTok, but he also got exposed recently for snitching to said feds back when he was 14, to the point where some rappers have actually started actively distancing themselves from him. And this is a bit of a murkier case than the whole 6ix9ine issue was. For one, Popp Hunna wasn't even an adult when it all happened, and even if it all went down without police coercion, he sure as hell hasn't tried to glorify any of it like 6ix9ine did, but okay, fine. What about the song? Well, honestly, it's not really wowing me much here either. The production is really chipper and sugary in a way that'd be a natural fit for Lil Uzi Vert or Playboi Carti, where it actually makes a lot of sense that Uzi showed up originally on the remix. But outside of the bass, the percussion and the fluttery melody, it's painfully thin and doesn't really support much of anything, let alone Popp Hunna's underwhelming voice and really ugly content. He's talking about having his enemies lie in excrement and then putting a girl on blast for her pussy being trash. I will say that it's very telling he took the snitching to get Lil Uzi to want to get away from this guy, but I don't like this either way. It's disposable and not in the fun way. Number 78, The First Noel by Gabby Barrett. You know, I think there are some folks who are expecting me to be kind of annoyed that Gabby Barrett is getting another charting song, given, well, everything I said about I Hope. But the truth is that a Christmas song this early, even for a pop country act, is not always a great sign, so there might be longevity questions already on the horizon. Well, anyway, it's a cover of The First Noel that leans on some otherwise pretty strings and acoustics, and it could have sounded fine if the bass and vocal blending wasn't complete ass. Seriously, who is mixing the mids and low end for Gabby Barrett's music? It's clipping and breaking in a hideously cheap sounding way. And considering this is a song that could really make use of her pipes, and the final chorus actually really lets her go for it, and she kind of nails it, this sort of blown opportunity is just sad at this point. And if her production team was quietly sabotaging her, you know what, I might actually believe that. So yeah, not a good cover, and it's not even directly her fault this time. Ugh. Number 60, Gnat by Eminem.
Infected with SARS and Corona. Like you took a bite off of that. Then it goes from Martian to human. That's how the virus attacks. They come at me with machine guns, like trying to fight off a gnat.
Okay, I'll say it again. I'm shocked Eminem didn't get a minor album bomb for the deluxe reissue of his album from earlier this year. And he was set up for one too. This is an opening after an album bomb from last week. He's got the diehard following to do it. And even if it's a deluxe reissue, he did get one last time, and yet the only song we got was the one with the video. And, you know, for an extended diss to COVID-19 interwoven with a bit of paranoia and an overflow of drug bars, it's not the worst thing I've heard from Eminem in recent memory. Hell, actually the production's pretty interesting. A little bit murky and blown out to open up the song, but the multiple beat switches and integration of more horns in the back half is pretty interesting, even if Eminem doesn't really do much with it, and he might be the biggest problem here. Yeah, he's on rhythm and he's focused and the flows sound mostly good, and he deceptively sneaks in some slick wordplay about targeting the outgoing administration, but there's no real intensity to any of his delivery and no change up and really to ramp up into it. I mean, I could nitpick and say that I'm none too thrilled about him seeming to question all the stay-at-home orders, but playing in the horror vibe and accentuating his own greatness, I at least know what he was trying to do, but shame the song's just kind of dull. I've heard there's a lot more awkward dad joke bars on other songs on that reissue, but if this is what he was counting on for the next big single to follow off Godzilla, yeah, kinda get why there wasn't an album bomb now, because this ain't that good. Number 59, Afterglow by Ed Sheeran. Oh, holy shit! Ed Sheeran was barely around in 2020 in the public eye, or at least on the charts, and did anyone really notice he was gone? I mean, I'm sure the diehard fans did, but I literally have not thought much about his music for the majority of this year, and that might say more about his superstar presence long term than he might expect. But anyway, this is apparently a standalone single that's not connected to any upcoming album, with the art apparently tied into his painting habit that he took up in the past year, and turns out the song is pretty okay too. An acoustic acoustic ballad with some very heavy vocal production that kind of reminds me a lot of Bon Iver or maybe Francis and the Lights, as he describes some passionate moments that he will cling to until after all there's left is the afterglow. It's pretty short, there's an Iron and Wine reference, which is also an act I haven't thought about in years, and while the vocal production kind of feels clunky to me, there is a bit of a homespun charm that I can mostly appreciate in some of the rougher edges, so yeah, it's fine. Not bad, not great, just fine. Number 50, I'll Be Home for Christmas by Bing Crosby.
You can plan on me.
We're now very much in the Christmas section of this list, so if you all want to leave early, here's your opportunity. Because really, what am I going to say about Bing Crosby singing a holiday staple? Crosby was a terrific crooner. The strings arrangement gives him all the space to really show off his range and poise. And if you like this sort of vintage cut that was first recorded in 1943, where Bing Crosby was framing this as a tribute to the troops in World War II, and it's now gone on to become a holiday standard, of course you're gonna adore this. Although, two quick facts. The song actually did become a top 10 hit on the pre-Billboard charts, so technically already has been here. And the BBC actually banned this song during World War II because they thought it might lower the morale of UK troops by making people too sad. Yeah, I'm serious about that. Either way, it's a classic. Unlike number 49, Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas by Michael
Merry
Buble.
little Christmas, let your heart be light.
See, I don't know what it is about Buble, because he's doing the whole same slow holiday crooner vibe with an arrangement that's just as tasteful and old school, just cleaner, but it never clicks for me. I think it's just because he doesn't have the same texture in his voice. He can't quite carry himself with the gravitas of the older guard, and he comes across as a bit of a pretender to a crown he hasn't really earned yet to the same degree. Because otherwise, yeah, it's fine, but is it matching what Judy Garland or Frank Sinatra did with the song? Yeah, that's what I thought. Number 47, Little Saint Nick by the Beach Boys.
It's the little Saint Nick, little Saint Nick.
Okay, honest question, who was even looking to the Beach Boys, even in their heyday, to write Christmas songs? Because this is actually an original from them, from Mike Love and Brian Wilson, and it was before their more experimental years too, with this coming on their first Christmas album. So okay, if you wanted the Beach Boys trying to make a hot rod song about Santa's sleigh, this is exactly what you're gonna get. Outside of that, it just feels very formulaic for them in the way that a lot of very early Beach Boys songs did in terms of its mid-tempo vibe and lukewarm groove and a lot of the melody. Not even feeling all that appropriate to the holidays, if I'm being honest. I mean, it's fine, it's the Beach Boys, it's hard to dislike, but let's be honest, it's a curiosity. Nothing more, nothing less. Number 46, Santa Claus is Coming to Town by the Jackson 5.
Coming to town, Santa Claus is coming to town.
This is one of those Christmas songs that's literally been covered by everyone, the sort of holiday staple where there's not really one voice that dominates all recollections, so why not the Jackson 5 riding the strident vocals of the young Michael Jackson belting his lungs out? And you know, for a slice of groovy, sunshine pop with a terrific bass line and a lot of exuberance, the song is pretty great. Although for someone like me who prefers a little bit more of a laid-back Christmas, this can feel a little bit much by the third chorus. In our points of trivia, apparently this was really big in the 1930s, and then paradoxically in the 70s, because Bruce Springsteen also recorded a version, but I will say this captures the childlike excitement way more effectively. It's just really good, and even if it's not always my thing, I can appreciate it. Good stuff. Number 39, This Christmas by Donny Hathaway.
Very special Christmas for me.
Now this is the sort of Christmas groove I really like. Leaning into that rich, gentle soulfulness that Donny Hathaway could nail in his sleep, with some of the hand percussion and horns flushing out that melody. The funny thing is that Donny Hathaway actually wrote this under a pseudonym in 1970, and it wasn't an immediate success for years until a number of artists would wind up covering it, where it's picked up a lot more attention, especially in the 2010s. And in a certain way, I kind of get it. It might have become a staple for black households early on, time, but it took entirely too long to get appreciated by everyone else, especially for Donny Hathaway when he sings it with such contented excitement. It doesn't quite resonate for my childhood memories in the same way, so I'm not sure if it's among my personal favorite Christmas songs, but yeah, it's still pretty great. Unlike number 36, Mele Kalikimaka, Merry Christmas by Bing Crosby and the Andrews Sisters.
Christmas Day, that's the island greeting that we send to you from the land where palm trees sway.
This is going to be one of those Christmas songs where I just don't get the appeal, because it feels like it was built for novelty rather than anything else, but okay. In the late 40s, the songwriter behind this wondered why there wasn't any Hawaiian Christmas music, which I could point to colonization, annexation, and the fact that at the time Hawaii wouldn't become a US state until 1959, but hey, the writer tried to build one, only to realize that the Hawaiian language doesn't actually have the right phonetic structure to say Merry Christmas. So they took words that looked vaguely Hawaiian, initially in print around the turn of the century, and they put this together, with Bing Crosby cutting it a year later. And let me put it plainly, this sucks. It literally reads as Crosby saying, "This phrase works as Merry Christmas in Hawaii, so you should say it." I guess one of the most gentrified instrumentals possible, even before the Andrews Sisters start crooning over it. Hell, Crosby just sounds stiff and awkward trying to sell this, and it just sounds clunky. Hell, outside of the title, the entire song is actually in English, so I have no idea what this offers native Hawaiians outside of one of the more embarrassing moments of cultural exchange I've seen in a while. At least Feliz Navidad feels real. This feels like novelty Christmas marketing. You know, the worst part of this holiday. And if you can't tell, it's my worst of the week, with dishonorable mention going to that horrible cover of The First Noel by Gabby Barrett. It's not her this time, it's the production. She should really have a talk with her label before this kills her career even further. Now for the best of the week, yeah, the original I'll Be Home for Christmas by Bing Crosby. It's getting there for me, childhood staple. But This Christmas by Donny Hathaway is getting an honorable mention for just being a great soul song all the way through, and I can appreciate that. Next week though, I'm guessing the holiday songs might start going away eventually. We might see an abortive Playboi Carti album bomb, but I've been wrong here plenty of times before, so stay tuned for that. But until then, I'm Mark. You're watching Billboard Breakdown, affiliated with Spectrum Pulse.